Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for our webinar, Scaling Recruiting Success with Sports Recruits. We're excited to have you here to show you how you can get the most out of the Sports Recruit platform, not just for your organization, but also how you can help your student athletes and their families. Throughout this session today, we'll walk through some actionable best practices designed to help you streamline your athletes' recruiting process and efforts and help you empower them to find their best college fit. So with that being said, let's get started.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robin. I'm a member of the customer success management team along with Mia. I'm excited to have you all here today. I'm almost at my 5-year mark here at Sports Recruits and was a college softball athlete. And yeah, excited to have you here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Hall. I'm a customer success manager here at Sports Recruits. A little background on me. I played lacrosse collegiately at Millersville University, and I'm also a former Division II women's lacrosse head coach. And after I transitioned out of coaching for the past 10 years, I've also been a lacrosse club director. For me, I always love talking about best practices with recruiting, and Robin and I are really excited to have you guys here today to just talk through some best practices and tips that you can help your athletes with to be successful on the Sports Recruits platform. And just as a note too, as we're going through the webinar today, throw in any questions that you may have into our chat feature. If we're unable to get to your questions today, we'll make sure to follow back up with you tomorrow. And because this question comes up all the time, this webinar is being recorded, so don't worry about feverishly taking notes. You'll receive a copy of this webinar tomorrow in an email. And again, just before we dive into the meat and potatoes of today's webinar, I just wanted to take some time to talk about the power of the Sports Recruit Network. Sports Recruits is the leading recruiting platform that connects clubs, student athletes, and their families with every college coach in the country. As a club director, you are a key part of this network. You're not just giving your athletes a profile, you're connecting them to this massive interconnected ecosystem. For organizations like yourself, we provide you guys the tools that you can use to oversee the entire recruiting process for your athletes with complete transparency. For student athletes, we deliver the direct access and resources needed to ensure that they find the best athletic and academic fit and a place where they can market themselves to every college coach in the country as well.
And then again, just to do a quick agenda for today's session, first we'll start with introducing Sports Recruits to your families. During this, we'll provide some clear, easy strategies that you can put in place for when you do introduce the platform to all of your families and parents. Next, we'll dive into setting realistic school expectations. Really critical step in the recruiting process. We'll show you how Sports Recruits can be used to help your athletes be more strategic in their college search. Then we'll cover gaining exposure with college coaches, discussing how you all as club staff can leverage the platform's features to get your athletes and videos for your athletes in front of the right coaches. Then we'll go to engaging student athletes and families just to make sure that your families and athletes are all actively using the platform and are motivated throughout their recruiting journey. And then lastly, we'll end with an overview of the Sports Recruits resources, everything that is available for you all, and then a Q&A as well, as Mia mentioned. So if you do have questions, throw them in the chat and we'll make sure to get to them at the end, or of course, make sure to follow up with you.
All right, cool. So let's talk about how you guys can introduce the platform to your families. So if you take anything away from today's webinar, I want it to be these next few points. These are best practices we recommend to help set your players and families up for success on the platform. The first best practice is to make sure each season that your rosters are up to date. After making sure that you have the most up-to-date rosters on the platform, please enroll your athletes in our free engagement campaign. This is a series of 5 emails sent to your athletes that looks like it's coming from you or some other member of your staff. And the ultimate goal of this campaign is to increase overall engagement and help your athletes get the most out of the platform. So this is a super easy lift. Myself as a club director, every time I update my rosters on the platform, I enroll our club in this engagement campaign automatically. So it's an easy lift. Definitely recommend you do that. The next best practice for you guys is to hop on a one-on-one staff training call with our team. So whether you've been on the platform with us a long time and maybe you've already jumped on one of these calls before, or you're brand new, I would say even if you have been on for years, we are rolling out new features every single year, and we'd love to just sit down again with a one-on-one training call with you, go through the platform, answer any questions you have, and go through those new features as well. Just understand this. The more that you understand how the platform works, the more likely you're able to better assist your athletes in their recruiting process. So it is a really big component to jump on that one-on-one training call with our team. The next best practice is also to set up a recruiting night with your families and players. So whether this is in person or on Zoom, this is a great way to get everyone on the same page and to help advertise that the club is using Sports Recruits as your official recruiting tool. We even have turnkey resources that you can use to help easily explain what Sports Recruits is, like a 10-minute athlete training video and a slide deck. So during the night, you can easily get that message out and explain to them the benefits of the platform. If you would like to, host a recruiting night and you want access to these resources, please reach out to us at teams@sportsrecruits.com and we can provide those to you. And before I forget, an engagement tip, if you are hosting one of those nights, I would also encourage that all your athletes download our new mobile app and follow us on social media. Our social media has great recruiting tips and information that they can, always use to stay on top of their process. And the mobile app is great because we know these kids are living most of their lives on their phones. So now that they have an app that they can easily access to update their profile or to send a message is so key to helping them stay engaged and, continue their recruiting process. So definitely promote those two things that they do during your recruiting night if you host one of those. And then finally, we highly recommend that you encourage your families to register for our SR 101 webinar or have them watch a pre-recorded SR 101 for their convenience. This webinar is the ultimate comprehensive guide that walks athletes through the initial setup, profile completion, and does a great job showcasing all the available recruiting tools that they have on the platform. It also serves as a great introduction and full platform, guide for families. And if they have questions after they review it, they can always reach out to our customer success team at help@sportsrecruits.com and they can answer those questions. So I think if anything, again, take away anything from today, if you can do at least these 5 things, you will definitely help ensure that your families and players start their recruiting journey with all the tools and knowledge that they need to be successful on the platform.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, next we'll go through how to gain exposure with college coaches. So first, overall, we want to take a look at what the platform looks like from the perspective of a college coach, because understanding how coaches are using sports recruits and how they view sports recruits from their side is really key to how you can help athletes get exposure with the information that they're providing. So as you can see, when a coach logs in, they're going to be brought to their College Coach Explore feed. And within this feed, they can put in a set of criteria that allows them to filter athletes based on exactly what they're looking for. So that can be GPA requirements, if they have video available, if they're looking for a specific graduation year of an athlete or position, they can do that. And then they also have what's called interested in us filter. So they can filter athletes that have favorited their program on the platform or sent a message to their program. So really powerful. Just by your athletes engaging with the platform, they're becoming more discoverable just strictly through that feature. Next, on the college coach side, they have what's called the My Needs tab. Again, you don't have to know the specifics of this, but just helpful for you to see exactly how they approach the recruiting on the platform. this My Needs feed is going to be a custom feed that generates specifically for the college coach based on what they have come in and said that they are looking for on their roster needs. So for example, as a softball coach, if they're looking for a left-handed pitcher in the 2026 class still, they will be able to search strictly for that athlete and filter out athletes all on the platform to simplify their search. So again, as long as your athletes have that information, they're going to become more discoverable on the platform. And then they also have access to their My Recruits tab. This is going to be similar to your athletes' favorites tab. This is where they can create their own favorite list of athletes that they've searched and found on the platform. They'll tag those athletes as a favorite of theirs so they can easily come back to them and continue to view their profile and what they have available. So again, this is just a helpful visual we like to share so that we can reinforce how critical it is that your athletes are engaging on the platform. And by doing simple tasks like updating their information, they are helping them become, 10 times more discoverable than athletes who have a blank profile, for example. So by taking action, they are getting more and more exposure on the Explore feed. Mhm.
Robin, can you go to the next slide?
Oh,
Sorry.
of course. Did it jump through? Yeah.
Oh, actually,
Did I
oh,
skip
maybe
one or
not.
did it jump?
Nope, you were right. You were right in the first one.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
One thing and that was, I think, great for Robin to go through kind of what it looks like on the college coach side. For sure was helpful for me when I was looking at all of that. But one thing that I hear from my athletes as a club director is, how can I get my name out there and show coaches what I have to offer? That's a pretty common thing that I get every single season. And the first thing that I tell them, again, to, reference a lot of Robin's points, is they need to start building their sports recruits profile, which builds their online presence. Their profile is essentially their recruiting resume, which when completed, gives college coaches all the information that they need to evaluate them about who they are on and off the field. So again, their profile, snapshot of them. It's their first impression with a college program. So in their sports recruit profile, make sure that they are including their profile picture, their position, their grades, their grad year, high school information, other clubs that they may, guest play for, if that's something, along with any other academic and athletic honors that they've received. And they should be updating this throughout the year because obviously those things will change. And then lastly, they definitely want to make sure that they have visible video on their profile, as this is what college coaches are going to use to evaluate them when they can't see them live in person playing. So those things are going to be really important for them to complete on their profile. And then again, another benefit to having a completed profile is that the more it's complete, the higher visibility their profile is to college coaches on their side of the platform, like Robin just noted.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing with why we have sessions, webinars like this is to show how easy it is for athletes to get onto the platform and immediately have everything available to coaches. So as we're going through this too, like these are all little bits of information, and Mia is definitely an expert being a club director herself, but through all the partners that we partner or all the clubs that we partner with, these are all really low lift things that, as long as you're continually bringing up sports recruits, mentioning and reinforcing everything that we have available and how easy it is to use. It can be a little overwhelming learning a new platform, but athletes can pick up new software so easily. As long as we're reinforcing sports recruits and all of the different tools, they're going to become more discoverable, more visible. So with that, I just want to jump in to how you can help your athletes get that additional visibility. So part of, again, as what Mia was saying, is athletes can have that complete profile. And part of that is having video available to coaches just by sharing video with your athletes. So if you have video that you're providing through practices or game film, anything that you can share with your athletes, that's going to help them provide video for them to have on their profile. So you can play a huge part in getting them more visible because of how those video tools and other softwares that you may have. So again, yes, video is such a critical piece to this tool. And that is the number one way that college coaches are engaging with athletes on the Sports Recruits platform. So having that available to them will be a huge plus in helping them on their recruiting journey.
And
So Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just to interrupt, sorry. Real quick, you have an unlimited amount of video that you can upload to your club account. So like Robin said, if you are capturing that film, go ahead, upload it there, and then you can easily share it over to your athletes so that they can use it in their tools to advertise themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So like it's just so important. Video is something that we will always talk about, always want to help get available to athletes. And yeah, just as Mia mentioned, helping them get that video will make them stand out. From a visibility standpoint as well, you all as coaching staff on the platform have access to the messaging system. Athletes, of course, have access to this as well, but this tool allows you to communicate with the same coaches, to share your athletes' profiles. There's an option to link athletes directly to college coaches. So even after in-person conversations, or if you're introducing and building your own network with college coaches, linking athletes is a really effective way to get specific athletes, but every message that you send will also include a link to your full roster information. We call that your club storefront. That will have all of your athletes listed.
Awesome. So next we're going to discuss how the platform can help set realistic expectations for your athletes. The platform empowers you to play a vital role in guiding your athletes towards their best overall fit for their college experience. To simplify the selection process, we recommend that you partner with your athletes or at least advise them to evaluate potential schools across 5 critical categories. So, is it a good academic fit, athletic fit, geographical fit, social and financial fit when they're using the school search tool on their side of the platform? Crucially, any school that satisfies at least 3 to 5 of these categories or pillars can confidently be identified then as a strong best fit school for them to put on their list. So that's one way I think if you can guide them to think about going through and thinking about these categories as they are researching schools, that will really help set, good expectations right out of the gate. Of course, you can say that to them. Maybe they won't hear you. And so, as you start to explore colleges and you go into the platform and you see, some of the schools that they're favoriting, you may also notice that they haven't followed that advice and they're favoriting schools that might not be the best athletic or academic fit for them. So, this again is where your guidance is going to come into play. What's awesome about the platform is that you also can use the school search tool as a powerful resource to help maybe reevaluate or help them build a more realistic and effective target list of schools. So when you're in the school search tool, you can use the filters to search for schools that align with their profile a little bit better. So, things based off of things, like this is the athletic level of play that you feel like they'd probably be successful at, or taking a look at their GPA. Okay, let's take a look at these schools. So this allows you ultimately to be able to proactively identify schools. And also you can recommend schools to them that they may not have on their list or have ever even considered on their own, just by you guys simply being able to get in there and use that tool. One powerful stat that I love to share is that 80% of all the messages that are sent on the Sports Recruits platform go to just 20% of college programs. So, very simply, what that means is that the majority of athletes are targeting the same small group of schools over and over. So, your role is to, I think, again, help them cast a wide net and consider programs that they may never have thought of on their own outside of like those Power 10 schools, right? By using the school search tool, you can guide your athletes to help build a more diverse and realistic list to help maximize their chances of finding the best fit for them. And ultimately, the goal is to help them, again, move beyond these big name schools and find opportunities that are both a great fit athletically and academically for them too.
Awesome. And with that, the most important thing after your athletes are identifying schools is understanding the interest from the other side. So as your athletes are going through the recruiting process, again, that visibility to who's interested in them, who's getting on their profile, who's viewing it, who's evaluating them is also going to help you set those realistic expectations, because you can see all of the activity from coaches, but more than that, from a monitoring and helping your athlete standpoint, you're going to see the progress that they have with the program based on the messages that they're sending, initially the schools that they're favoriting. So it gives you all of that transparency to where an athlete is with the program. Again, every message that your athletes send from the messaging system on the platform includes an embedded link to the profile that is going to track that. So a college coach easily opens that message, they click that link, they'll get access to the athlete's full profile, and both you and the athlete and their family are going to get a view that says a coach just viewed your account from this program. This, again, so much extra transparency in the recruiting process to understand who is truly engaging with your athletes. So you, as a staff member on the platform, you can see all of this on the activity feed of your account. This is also where you can see from on an athlete side, you're going to see all of that favorites activity. Again, just shows you all of that back and forth between an athlete and their programs, who's actively engaging, what's kind of the timeline, the response time, what types of messages are they sending your athletes. That's going to get all of that information in front of you. And just because we do get a lot of questions about what a view notification means and how to help communicate that to your athletes, we know it is so exciting to get a text message or an email that says, hey, a coach just viewed your profile. We want to make sure it's super clear that does not guarantee, a scholarship or even that the athlete's going to be recruited. We always like to compare it to like an Instagram view or a like on Instagram. It's something where an athlete is getting evaluated, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee next steps. So we just like to make sure that that's super clear and the athletes and you are using it as information for engagement, but not necessarily jumping to conclusions about what that means. Always, it starts the conversation, of course. We want that to be information that can be used to start an introduction or to continue conversations, but we just like to be clear about that too. And with that, we know that we've been talking a lot about just the overall platform and features, but now jumping back to kind of what Mia started with are some main takeaways that we have for you. So as Mia mentioned, scheduling the engagement campaign to send the emails to your athletes is going to be the number one thing that we want you to take away from this session, from anytime you're communicating with us about roster updates. This, again, is a series of 5 emails that's going to be sent to every single one of your athletes, every single parent email that's on your account. And these are going to look like they're coming from you or another member of your staff so that they can see information about the platform from someone that they know. We, of course, are sending them a bunch of information and best practices as well. But this campaign, the goal is to really increase engagement overall for your families based on information and best practices that they're getting from you as their coach. This is something we recommend, again, enrolling. It's free. We can enroll in it, several times in a year, but definitely following roster updates, leading into big events, things like that. It will just give a boost, and it's targeted to athletes that haven't taken action on the platform. So it's really powerful in terms of getting information to the right athletes as well. The first email is going to be sent to all athletes, and then the following are going to be based on athletes who have either not gotten verified, they haven't uploaded video yet, they haven't favored schools yet, and then if they haven't sent their first message. Again, these are the 4 main ways to use the platform, and we want to make sure that athletes are taking advantage of everything. And again, when you're thinking of this, depending on the size of your program, we can send this out to all teams, or we can specifically send it to specific grad years or teams as well. If you have, 3 teams with 3 different head coaches who want it sent out from them directly. And if you do want this, we always have a link available, but definitely email us at teams@sportsrecruits.com too, and we can get that to you.
Can't push the engagement campaign enough. It's an easy lift for me as a club director. And again, it just helps nudge those kids along who maybe are slacking a little bit in getting their profile filled out. So definitely, again, recommend that. Another way that you can help your athletes engage in the platform is to provide them with some goals each season. So whether you do this verbally at practice or during your recruiting night or in an email, it's just another great way to keep your athletes engaged. I definitely do this when I see my kids at practice on Sundays. I'll tell them, hey, like this week, I want you to go into the platform and favorite at least 20 schools. I did that just recently with my 2029 group who's just starting the process. Some other goals that you can think about giving your kids are to, before the first tournament, send out their, event schedule via the messaging system to any of the schools that are on their favorites list. So by giving them those little goals too, verbally in person or via email, definitely goes a long way in helping them stay engaged on the platform. And then another way that I love to, keep my players engaged is by giving them high fives from the activity feed that Robin was just talking about a couple slides ago. Um, so as I go into my staff account and I see them favoriting schools or maybe getting a view from a school that I think might be a good fit, know that you guys can click that little give a high five feature. And when you do that, your athletes are going to get notified that Coach Mia gave me a high five for liking XYZ school. And so they now get that notification. They know that you're paying attention to their recruiting process, which is huge. And then what I have found is that these kids are more inclined to go back into the platform and maybe message that school that they just favorited or send a follow-up message to that school that was viewing their video. So this is just a quick way to give them positive reinforcement and help them stay motivated, to continue their recruiting process. So definitely take advantage of that little give a high five feature right from your activity feed.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that we run into is the biggest hurdle for programs, especially when getting started, is that initial step of how do I get my athletes to sign on to the platform? High fives, tagging schools, everything that you do will send notifications for the most part to the families. So it's a really easy way to get information and to get some pushes to your athletes as well, because do care, if you're here, especially in watching this video, you want to learn how to use the platform to help your athletes. So really easy lifts there. Programs that we work with too will sometimes say, depending on how you structure your recruiting help, they might say, we can't meet until you log into Sports Recruits and you favorite 10 schools, because that is how the conversation is going to start with that information, and having that all in front of you is the best way to just make sure that you have a good starting place as well, and to hold them accountable. And lastly, we'll just wrap up with a little bit of information about the Sports Recruits resources that we have.
Again, we're back to this mobile app. I can't stress this enough, but definitely encourage your kids to download our new Pro Mobile app for them. We know our athletes, mine especially, are living 75% of their day on their phones. So now that they have a dedicated Sports Recruits app that they can, utilize to continue to stay on top of their recruiting process is so invaluable now. So definitely have them download that for sure.
And then lastly here, just an overview of the main resources that are easily available to your families. We have our knowledge base center that will include how-to articles and videos. We have monthly webinars that we're hosting, like this one, but similar ones with recruiting topics specifically for families. That includes a monthly Sports Recruits 101 training. That's about 20-25 minutes, giving athletes a full run through of the platform. And then we have our blog and resource center, which will include a ton of different recruiting resources and information, not just for athletes, but for parents as well. So definitely check those out. And the biggest thing is communicating these resources to your family so that they know they're available. They're all completely free and part of their experience on the platform. And then lastly here, we have athletes can just make sure that they can access all of these resources from their account. That More tab will have everything from the quick drop down, and then our customer success team's email is there too, help@sportsrecruits.com. They're a really fantastic team, super responsive and really helpful. So definitely leverage that so that you can focus on everything else in the recruiting world and the coaching world that you have on your plates as well. But yes, help@sportsrecruits.com. That's one main takeaway. And then the engagement campaign, those are two things that we're always talking about. So definitely encourage you to share these resources with your families. Um, and then I actually don't see any questions today, so we might wrap up a little bit quicker today. But if you do have any questions, oh, maybe I see one here. You send it through. I saw someone raise their hand, so please send that through if we're missing it here, but otherwise.
Oh, there's a question that came in here. What do I do if I have an athlete who can't access their profile? Great question. Again, if you have an athlete who says, especially if you're brand new or that athlete is new, have them reach out to help@sportsrecruits.com, and our CS team will be able to give them an onboarding link so that they can get in and access their account and start setting up their profile. Good question. Let's see if there's any others that pop through.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the wrong spot, or I don't see any, Mia. So definitely let me know because I don't actually see that question. So
Got
let me.
it. Oh,
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Okay. Great. So good question here. This one. Um, So in terms of in terms of a club package that you have, very specific question there, so we can connect offline too. But if depending on what package that you have, the number of teams and athletes that you are providing sports recruits to, the pricing does change a little bit. And let me just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Um, but by any athlete who is on your roster on the platform has direct access to the pro level, full access to the platform with all of the features we talked about, all of the paid features. So we can connect offline just to make sure I am answering your question directly. But by having an athlete on your sports recruits account, that will upgrade them, make sure that they have full access to the platform. And in terms of age level, just generally speaking, sports recruits is a tool that's available for any athlete at any point in their recruiting journey. We have programs that will offer it to their elite teams that are a little bit older, but we have athletes that have it as young as 8th grade as well. So it's really available to anybody so that they can get comfortable on the sports recruits platform from a young age and start to familiarize themselves and get video and everything on their account.
yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Another question that came in, how many times a year should you recommend that we do a recruiting night? Great question. I think for myself, I do a recruiting night twice a year if I can, bandwidth wise. For sure, I do it at the start of our main tournament season, just to, again, get everyone on the same page, make sure that they realize that, again, we have this sports recruit tool as, something included in their club subscription with me, but also this is what I need them to be, managing, filling out, staying on top of so that I can help best guide them as we go through this tournament season. So 1 or 2 times a year. But again, if you need resources for that, please reach out to us because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We'll be able to shoot the sports recruits info out and you can at least utilize that in addition to talking about your other recruiting expectations that you have for your athletes and families moving into the tournament seasons. All right, let's see if we got any other ones. All right, great. Well, I think that is all of the questions that we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you on additional webinars that we are going to hopefully put on in the future. And thanks again for joining us today. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.